Triple Threat listeners, it's Tom Marooned here with a quick announcement before we get started. Since the Paul McCartney concert on June 16th in Dallas, Texas has been rescheduled for October, we at Triple Threat have decided to save our episode about Paul McCartney's album New for a later release date. We apologize for the delay, but we are trying to focus on what is current. In the meantime, Becca, Garrett, and I got together to talk about the album The Division Bell by Pink Floyd and its recent 20th anniversary. So for this episode that you're about to hear, we present our full discussion about The Division Bell, the album, the songs, and the newly released 20th anniversary box set right here on Triple Threat. Thanks for listening. And we're back. And I know that I always say that to the end, but we are back because this is our first show where we're back after a month of separation because we just can't stand each other, can we?
Well...
Anyway, you're listening to Triple Threat. We are the all-talk, no-music show on Mixcloud.com where we talk about the Beatles, The Who, Pink Floyd, and other related stuff that we like and that we geek out about on this show. And joining me, as always, is the usual gang, Garrett Hicks.
Hello, 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 hello.
And Becca Cristino.
Hey, howdy, hey.
And on May 20th was the 20th anniversary of what has ultimately become Pink Floyd's final album, The Division Bell, released May 20th, 1994, if you know...
Math.
Yeah, could not do the math. Number one in the U.S., number 2 in the U.K., and is their second post-Waters album, and is also their last album to feature the late Rick Wright. But you know what? We're going to talk about this album because it feels, especially in the Pink Floyd community online, it seems like it's been getting a lot of popularity, a lot of attention because of the 20th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about the album. You know, we're going to go track by track, and we're also going to be giving you our personal feelings on all the tracks in this album because I know I can speak for all of us, or at least most of us, because I don't know how you all feel about the album overall, that I think we all really like this album. So we're going to probably give it a lot of really good talk in this show.
Yeah.
So, talking about The Division Bell, they're Pink Floyd's first album since 1987's Momentary Lapse of Reason. And so, we're going to talk about the album and kind of, well, I guess the first place really to start would be overall history or overall history with us, because I don't really, personally, I don't know too much history behind this album. It just seems like another album they just made. And unless anyone else knows any real history behind it.
I do.
Well, take it away.
Of course I do. So, Division Bell, it started coming to life in 1992, I believe, when the 3 remaining members, David Gilmour, Nick Mason, and Rick Wright, started just making music together randomly on David's houseboat, the Astoria. And so they eventually said, hey, we've got enough material here that we could make, an album. So let's do that. And so they did. Yay.
And the rest of, and the world welcomed it with open arms.
Yeah.
Like
have you heard about the way they chose the songs that we're going to get on the album?
No, I haven't. Like I said, I don't know too much history about the album.
Okay, so they took all of the demos that they'd made, and they said, okay, each of the 3 of us, we're going to give it rating from 1 to 10. And the ones that get the highest ratings are going to go on the album.
And the ones that got the lowest rating we'll likely never hear for a while.
Probably.
So
there's more songs. Even I didn't know this. There's more.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Even I didn't know this.
Maybe for the 50th anniversary when they're all deceased, then they'll finally release the demos.
That's
the unreleased tracks, not the demos.
It's kind of similar to how David Gilmour made On an Island. He and Rick Wright and the rest of his band just kind of jammed on stuff and eventually said, you know what, we can make an album together. Let's do that. So it's very similar to that. And there are lots of jams that I've never heard from the On an Island jam sessions that I'd love to hear. And so that's kind of how the Division Bell came about. The rating system that they set up was kind of not that great because I know for a fact that Rick Wright gave all of his contributions 10s.
Well,
just because.
Oh my god.
Of course he did, right?
Oh my god.
And meanwhile, the others are kind of looking at him like, Rick, we just... Dang it.
Rick, this is why your solo career never got popular.
Oh, stop.
Well, it's true.
He only had one album at that time.
So he just said, "Screw you guys! I'm gonna go make the other album."
Yeah, and it's gonna be a lot better.
So
Moving on.
Is solo albums better than On an Island?
No. I know. I meant Broken China better than Wet Dream.
Okay. Yes, it is.
I still laugh at the title.
It's called Wet. It's a sex thing. We know.
Why do you even have to be to just never?
Are we done?
Yeah, I think we're done with history.
This is not an episode about Wet Dream. I don't think we're ever going to do that.
I'll have to strain my way through that one.
Probably not.
Even I would struggle.
Yeah, we might just lump it in with Broken China or something.
Well, no, Broken China we'd actually give respect to.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe we'll lump it in with Z.
That's it. That's what we do. We just throw it in there.
You.
The embarrassment that is identity.
Don't talk about Z. We never talk about Z.
Fine.
There is something about this album which is a lot different from other Floyd albums, is that other people, multiple people I should say, got co-writing credit that weren't band members.
Yeah. The
one being Polly Sampson, who I believe at the time was either married to him or she was David Gilmour's girlfriend.
During the making of the album, she was Gilmour's girlfriend, and then I think somewhere between the end of the tour and the album's release, they got married, something like that.
So yeah, in fact, 7 out of the 11 songs are co-written with Polly. So, and I remember I think it was a few months ago, there was a Rolling Stone special edition where, they've done special editions to the Beatles, the Stones, Grateful Dead. They did one for Pink Floyd, and in the back they had something called Pink Floyd by the Numbers, and it was like number of albums, number of singles, and then one of them, it was almost like a diss in a way. It was like number of songs that have been co-written with Polly Sampson, and I looked at that and I was like, you realize that she has ownership of many songs now.
Yeah.
Or on this album.
You know what? I'm glad that she wrote on this album, because this album is freaking great.
Well, we'll get into that.
It is.
I'm just simply saying, for those who are Floyd...
Whatever she did, it was great.
I'm just saying that for those who maybe are Floyd purists, who don't... they have the 3 distinct periods of Barrett, Roger, and Gilmour. Some of them may not be open to this album a little bit, and you know what? It's a shame because I'm.
What is this?
It's what? I don't even.
Disgust with people whose anuses have rods jammed up them.
Fact.
Well, I think for this album, well, you can sort of start, since you were the one who segued that this album is amazing.
Yeah.
Any other words to describe Division Bell?
It is. I often put it as my number 2 Pink Floyd album, right behind Wish You Were Here. Oftentimes they jockey for first place, but Wish You Were Here usually comes out on top. There's just something about the Division Bell that really speaks to me. I guess it's the fact that it's one of their first concept albums since like The Wall, in 20 years or so, and it's great. I love the vocals on it. The guitar work is good. Nick Mason really steps up to the plate and delivers on a lot of the songs. Not like I don't think in Momentary Lapse of Reason he actually played drums. He is
credited though.
I know, but I think it's something more like he programmed percussive equipment or something.
Yeah.
It says Jim Keltner drums. Nick Mason is like percussion and programming, and something like he basically did a drum machine.
That is true, because if you look at the credits for Division Bell, it says Nick Mason live drums.
Yeah.
I never put the two together, because I thought he is credited on Momentary Lapse of Reason.
You're learning many new things today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Momentary Lapse of Reason is a strange beast that we'll get to later.
Yes. Well then, Becca, any overall thoughts on Division Bell?
Vision Bell is just a beautiful album, and like it makes a great last album because it really just finds a way to tie it all together nicely.
Yeah, I agree.
It takes key elements of the Floyd sound over the years, developed to a certain sound at this point that just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I find elements that are just so them in it. That just like make it like a nice, you know how an essay should have like, you know, an intro, a body, and a conclusion. It makes a damn good conclusion paragraph to the paper that is the Floyd.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I like that analogy. And I've got to say, it's interesting. Pink Floyd is one of those bands that can really find its own sound and stay with it. If I didn't know them as well as I do, I could listen to, you know, a track or two from Piper at the Gates of Dawn and a track or two from Division Bell and say, are these the same?
These are the same people.
Is this the same, you know, general idea? Even though a lot of the personnel and a lot of the tone is different, they still have the Pink Floyd sound.
That is true. I mean, I remember years ago when all I knew was the Roger period, and then somebody played me Bike, and I was like, they cannot be taking themselves seriously.
Oh yeah.
But
For the first time I heard Bike, I lost my mind.
my opinion of this album is always had a very warm atmosphere. I remember it also reminds me of like literally when I heard it, which was like late high school, like maybe late junior year, early senior years when I first listened to it. And whenever I hear certain tracks from this album in the order, it sort of reminds me of like, oh, I remember, you know, where I was when I heard this, or like what was going on in my life. In fact, just today, I'm riding my bike because I had to go to the local college, and I'm listening to this album, you know, to prepare for this show. And the opening track, Cluster 1, comes on, and you know, we're not going track by track just yet, but it comes on, and all of a sudden, it's a warm day outside, and the two just really sort of matched each other, really.
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of this album even though it has some dark musical tones, lyrics in it, for the most part, for me, it just sounds like a very bright album. I mean, not to be funny, but it's better, it's a lot better recorded than a lot of their previous albums because it was made in the 90s when technology was a lot better. So the acoustic guitars are just so clear. Nick's drums are, you know, like they're just
super deep.
Super deep. They're in your head. I was trying to say like they echo in your head. I mean, it's just the overall sound I can describe is very warm.
It would probably be
actually like the perfect word to describe it. Like right when you mentioned that, I immediately thought of Poles Apart.
Yeah.
That song itself just sounds so.
Anyway, so
Yes.
Yeah, let's get on and talk about these tracks.
Yeah, since I already alluded to that, let's get into the opening tracks. Cluster 1 opens the album. You know, Floyd are known for these sort of suites that open the album instead of either with the hit single or, I mean, well, I should say later Floyd. I mean, if you don't count maybe like Let There Be Light or, you know, a lot of the early stuff where it opens like that. You know, if you think of the last few, Momentary Lapse of Reason, technically The Wall doesn't have a suite. I mean, it has the ambience noises and then it kicks in within the flesh.
Yeah.
But Wish You Were Here and Dark Side, they always go for that sort of suite. I'm not saying I don't like it, but I'm saying this one has, I mean, I wrote in my notes, very warm opening because it doesn't prepare you for what's to come. And when I'm putting prepare in quotes because there is some dark stuff on this album, but from this warm overture, you don't know what's coming.
No, it's great. I like Cluster 1. I just like it. I mean, I'm not that big a fan of instrumentals, so I often skip Cluster 1 and Marooned just because I can't sing along to them. But in the right mood, I'll just listen to Division Bell all the way through. And Cluster 1 is great because it acts as a good opening. I don't really know how else to explain it. It's kind of like, you know, opening a book and flipping through the first pages and settling in for an experience.
It's not going to grab you.
Well, yeah, it is.
Well, no, but I'm saying it doesn't grab you. I mean, I'm going to go back to The Wall. The Wall has the noises, and then it kicks in.
Yeah.
You know, The Wall is really the best example for a big grabber opening.
Yeah, the wall tricks you and grabs you by the throat.
Because it's supposed to be throat grabbing,
Yeah.
the whole concept. And
yeah, but Cluster 1 is more of a big poofy armchair that you just want to sink into.
right.
And I really love, and I should have mentioned this earlier, but Division Bell is concept album. I believe. I haven't heard anything saying yes or no, but
I am ready to respond, but please finish.
yeah, I think of Division Bell as a concept album because most of the songs, lyrically and even in the instrumentals, deal with communication or lack thereof. And Cluster 1 begins with, is that tape hiss?
Sort of, yeah.
Some kind of crackling noise that you would get on, I bet it's a radio, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of makes me feel like the dawn of communication and how we embrace it and it becomes a good thing, and then later we see it break down.
And also, not to be funny, but in the beginning we couldn't speak.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it's a good opening.
Yeah, that too.
So, what I was about to respond is that literally last night I'm listening to an interview that you had sent us from in the studio with Redbeard, where David and Nick talk about it. And David does confirm that it does involve communication. But then again, I had to remind myself, David Gilmour also said that Momentary Lapse of Reason has a concept to it.
Okay, yeah. Do you know what? I told you what the concept for that he said that was, right?
It was like floating down a river.
Because it all sounds kind of like a river.
No, it doesn't.
I'm like, but you just said that because Signs of Life has a guy on a boat down a river.
But also he's trying to sell Momentary Lapse of Reason because it's his product. And,
right.
But it didn't work. But I think Cluster 1, it works great, and because it's very atmospheric. That was a really good analogy, like the dawn of communication.
Yeah.
It's almost like the dawn of a day. Great, beautiful piano work in this track.
Oh, the piano in it is so good.
I know.
And it doesn't start with synth like Shine On does or Signs of Life. It's a piano, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
This track.
Crystalline, shining, like a dawn of communication, like a dawn, just like a...
dawn of a day.
Yeah.
I also like in Cluster 1, it kind of feels like the first few notes on the piano and on the guitar are like experimental. Like, what if I do these notes here?
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, and then, okay, let's expand this theme. Again, it's like communication again. We try different ways and we see what works and what doesn't, and then we just gradually reach out further with it.
And then of course, with more communication, I mean, like the song...
It builds.
It builds. That's why that's what I'm trying to get to that thought. The thought of communication building,
mm-hmm.
and to it's eventually to the point on this album where it kind of just falls apart.
Yeah.
And sorry. So Becca, did you have any thoughts of Cluster 1 that we haven't mentioned? So.
We haven't mentioned that I have not kind of interjected while you guys were continuing the mentioning.
Yes.
Also,
I think you pretty much summed it all up.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Also, them drums. Them drums is great.
Oh,
yes, the drums are great in this one.
Yeah, and it's not even particularly intricate or fast or anything. It just adds to it, but it just adds just enough.
And also, I will make one note about the drums that made me so relieved. If you compare this album to Momentary Lapse of Reason, which many fans, of course, did when it came out, because that was the most thing. Something that Momentary Lapse of Reason hinders at is that it has 80s musical elements in it, and the drums are very. I'm going to use a term. It's not really a real classified term, but they're Phil Collins-esque in Momentary Lapse of Reason. They have that big boom, boom, boom sound in them.
Yeah, the big roomy snare.
Yes,
because a lot of it's the 80s. Oh, the drum machine was huge in the 80s.
Right.
And even Pink Floyd picked up on it. Granted, they also did live performances without a drum machine, which I think was definitely the right way to do it. And yeah, I understand that. And Division Bell definitely does away with any kind of dated sounds.
Right. We don't need those sounds anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So we have, the communication building. We go into track 2, which is called "What Do You Want From Me," which has the same bass line as "Have a Cigar." Also,
it does.
Well, think about it. Well, not
oh my gosh,
not note wise, but if you think of doom down, doom down, down, doom down, doom down, and you put the two together.
Oh my
gosh,
fairly
similar sound.
Very. I mean, they're not the same bass line. Sorry, let me phrase that. Similar bass line to "Have a Cigar."
Yeah, it's kind of like how this is getting off subject, but Roger Waters lifted the Another Brick in the Wall bass line and put it into "What God Wants" on "Amused to Death."
Yeah, but there no one listened.
Oh, come on.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I didn't listen anyways.
It's okay.
Anyways, but yeah, well, also Gilmour confirmed it. Baseline of House Girl, which Gilmour always felt could have been developed further. So I mean, heck, take the same song and do it 20 years later in the 90s. It's going to have a different sound to it.
Yeah.
This is the first song that's co-written with Polly, and sadly, after doing some research on this show, not a lot, you find out that some of the lyrics actually are roughly based on Gilmour's own fights with Polly's and their own arguments.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why she's written as co-writer. I'm not sure,
maybe,
but I would think she helped him write.
Yeah, you draw on experience when you write. So that I didn't know that, and it doesn't really surprise me. Actually, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, and also it's not just arguing from person to person. I mean, if you think about almost every time that I've watched an interview with Gilmour in a press conference, sometimes he doesn't know exactly what to say, and sometimes he'll pull the excuse of "I'm just a guitar player." What do you want from me in these intricate answers?
Yeah,
because he wasn't brought in to be the songwriter originally. He was brought in just to be the guitar player.
Yeah, it's kind of definitely endearing and funny how shy David Gilmour is. I love the guy. He's so fun to watch. Just do stuff, and he's like, I just came here to play the guitar and be a badass. What else do you need me to do?
So. I get a kick out of the fact that he draws from that, and I'm reading the lyrics here, and maybe I'm just being completely speculative, so you guys can help me out on this.
Sure.
All right.
Could part of this song be aimed at Roger?
That's what I was about to bring that up.
The line of selling your soul for complete control.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
There are a lot of references to Roger here and there that actually may or may not be references to Roger. They're
big one theme in this album, especially with communications and how communications can get all screwy, and I mean with the whole disintegration of their work and personal relationships.
Right.
So I mean that's true. I mean, I don't think there's ever been any confirmation, and also. Has Roger ever had any say on Division Bell, like what he thought about it?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Thomas.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure Garrett was telling me about this.
Here. I have a quote. Roger Waters giving his opinion of the Division Bell. Just rubbish. Nonsense from beginning to end.
You know what? This was in the middle of their lawsuit.
Yeah.
That was probably the answer that he was supposed to give.
No, it wasn't in the middle of their lawsuit. They were just still bitter at each other for having done the lawsuits.
But you know what? I think deep down inside, he would have liked to have made music with them again.
Yeah.
And he's just mad because there's some songs in here that he didn't come up with, and also he's mad because this album went #1 and none of his albums did.
Yeah.
So. I mean, I just, I'm listening to this, earlier, and, gets to that part, and I get a kick out of the fact that, even it could be aimed at, either his David Gilmour's wife or the press or even Roger. He just throws up his hands and says, "What do you want from me?"
Yeah. You get a big, at least I notice, a huge religious theme as well, because he references walking on water, and, during the bridge, it's kind of like Jesus being tempted in the desert. You can have anything you want, complete control, as we've mentioned. You can own everything you see. I don't think the religious imagery used in "What Do You Want From Me" is like him trying to make a big religious statement because he's not religious. Maybe it could be him saying something about religion and maybe how silly he thinks it is or something. It's hard to tell. Because the lyrics are so vague there.
I'm sitting here thinking, and David's not going to confirm it. He's just going to say, "What do you want from me?"
Yeah. Well, but "What Do You Want From Me" is a really good song anyway. It's got these great vocals. Oh my gosh, they're so powerful.
And it's got great chords in it. As a musician, I've
irritation.
Yes.
What do you want from me? Like it does such a good job of articulating that.
Yeah, and also as a musician, I've looked at the chords for this, and some of the chords are just outrageous. And so, like on one hand, you want to slap him for using certain chord changes, But the way when I'm listening to it again, and especially it builds right before the "What do you want from me" sort of punchline, and and I'm like, you know what, the chords are great, so I'm just gonna let it go on this song.
Yeah.
You want to not slap into like a high five.
Maybe a high five. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a fantastic song. It isn't my favorite. I do skip this one sometimes, partly because the vocals are really high and I can't get up there.
You have to be in the right mindset.
Oh yeah, it's a great angry song. Like, I have this one on my angry playlist.
There are pretty good angry songs on here.
A lot of the way I determine like my favorite songs is how well I can sing along to it. I don't know why. It works.
And yet, "Love Ran Over Me" is your favorite song of all time, and you can't sing that.
Yeah.
Talking about
a lot, not all.
Not a lot. Anyway, so we move on then to the more gentle side of this album with the third track, "Poles Apart."
I love this song.
Well, why don't you start and give thoughts on this one?
Just everything about it is so, like, the lyrics are so lovely, and apparently, I believe they're about Sid, are they not?
I was about to bring that up. There's
the first verse is about Sid.
Oh, the entire first verse.
The first is about Sid, and then the second one is
about Roger, maybe?
It's about Roger.
I think it's like a blend of both, but like bringing in the whole theme of the album of just communication. It brings in like the two different stories of their issues with communication and losing touch and everything.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. And then musically, it's just gorgeous. It's just this lush sounding, like, it's like the musical equivalent of just like rolling green hills on like a slightly overcast day.
Yeah, it reminds me of
beautiful, bittersweet thing.
And then, oh hey, look, it's a circus over there.
Yeah, that part makes me think of Sid.
Yeah, that part. Yeah.
Do you know what?
Sort of like what's this track from South Full of Secrets?
Well, I was about to say that. Do you know
Jug Band Blues?
Do you know why it makes you feel like that? Because the middle part was directly inspired by Jug Band Blues.
Right.
I did not even know that myself. I just heard that. I heard that today while listening to it, and I'm thinking he's bringing in a lot of elements here.
Yeah.
Had I remembered to check my history and all that I know, like you guys do before these shows, I would have remembered that. Like, I have a vague memory of why it reminds me of Sid, but it was because of reading that somewhere that it was inspired by Jug Band Blues.
But
and that little organ bit in the middle right there before the circus. It's such a nice touch.
Oh, I know. Everything about this song really flows very well.
It flows so nice.
Yeah, and again, going back to the lyrics, the first verse, as I said, is about Sid, mentioning that you were always the golden boy, which I think is a reference to golden hair on his solo album, his first solo album.
In fact, they kind of like tried to milk him for singles.
That too.
And also, gold shines, just like Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
You're stretching, Thomas.
Well, I didn't even know.
We're turning this into an AP Lit class. We're reading too much into this.
But I'll tell you what's not a stretch is the second verse is about Roger because it begins with the line, "Hey you."
Well, yeah, that's a bit of a definite nod.
Yeah, and you listen to what it's saying. Did you realize what you've become? And I became the one who was standing up against you. And the third verse is about Polly, actually.
I never knew that.
Yeah,
you got to explain.
I thought of you, and the years of all the sadness fell away from me.
Well, there you go, then, I guess.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the ones that was written. Well, it was about after they met, but after they had been together for a while.
Oh yeah.
Well, the line that got me when I was listening to it earlier today was the part one. It's I think one of the last lines, the lost light in their eyes. You know, that could be a reference to either "Nobody Home" from the Wall, or it could just be a reference to. Well, it is a reference to Sid in general.
I was thinking "Shine On" and the black holes and the licking eyes.
More "Shine On." That's it.
Yep.
Well, because we've all talked about the idea of Sid. They said the light was on, but nobody was home, and well, now the light is just gone.
Right.
And it's '94. Sid's still alive, but Gilmour's saying, let's face it, he's not coming back.
Yeah. A lot of people would have said Sid had died a long time ago.
Long before he actually died.
Yeah. It's terrible and sad and everything. But 'tis life.
'Tis life. And I really like this song also. I don't think I get my overall impression of it.
Oh, yeah.
It's really beautiful. In fact, as I'm listening to it, I'm riding my bike, and I had to go down a huge hill, and the song comes on. And so the rolling guitars as my bike is rolling down the hill, and at one point I'm thinking to myself, very Goodbye Blue Sky-ish in a way, the way the acoustic guitars play in this song.
Yeah.
I think it's just because of the similar chord.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost a similar chord progression. Not progression, but just the way that they play, the certain picking on both the songs. It's very similar.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked to, well, I hate to say it, but when I talked to Ron Geeson, remember we asked him about, you know,
when Ron Geeson said my name in various ways multiple times.
For Becca.
Well, when I talked to him and we asked him about the idea of reusing musical themes over and over again, and he said, as an artist, you know, you're going to go back to what you did because either you want to make the same point as you did before, or maybe you just liked a certain riff over and over again.
That's definitely apparent in The Division Bell.
Yeah, I mean, as we go on, we'll discover more.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in Pulls Apart, going back to Goodbye Blue Sky, they had a similar feel, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's all the thoughts on Pulls Apart.
Yep.
So moving on to track 4 is instrumental called Marooned. Great instrumental in my opinion. It's so beautiful. I remember the first time I heard this, I was actually waiting for the vocals to come in, and then the song ended, and I was like, wow. I was just picked up by Pink Floyd, and it was great.
Yeah. Marooned is a very interesting beast because I think you mentioned in a past show that it definitely has echoes of echoes.
Right.
With I think it was called whale sounds.
Yeah, it has the little the whale squawk in it. That I'm trying to think of exactly what I mean. I'm not going to impersonate the sound because I'm terrible at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has the idea of you know, and it starts with seagulls. So at the beginning, so it kind of sounds like it's in a beachy area.
Yeah. A
little bit, and also the idea of marooned, and there's another instrumental called Any Color You Like. So it's a kind of a cool thing that I put together while I was listening to it.
I have more thought of marooned as the actual definition and not so much the color. And that marooned talks about being stranded somewhere and having no way to communicate with anyone. Getting back to the communication theme here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marooned is beautiful. It's got some of the greatest keyboards and piano I've ever heard anywhere. I really love the guitar in it. The solo that just stomps through the whole thing. Stomps is the wrong word. It just soars through the whole thing. That's it.
That's a much better word.
Especially because Marooned was born out of an experiment with, I think it was a whammy pedal that put, I think is what Gilmour called it. Don't quote me on that.
Well, I'll explain because I know more about guitars.
Well, he said it was some device that allowed him to go a full octave up on the guitar.
That's the whammy pedal.
Okay.
As a guitarist, I'm not surprised that he used that effect.
Yeah, and it starts out so high and it goes higher and higher the whole time. It's amazing. It's also really cool to hear this one live because I've
never heard this song live.
Yeah, it was. I think it was only done like 5 times in total, and one of them was without Pink Floyd. It was just David Gilmour at the Fender 50th anniversary.
So it was just him?
Him and his band.
Oh, okay.
So he was playing this song on the Fender Stratocaster #1 that he owns because he's David Gilmour and he's a badass. And I don't know why I keep describing David Gilmour as a badass.
It's good to be passionate.
Yeah, yeah. Also, one of the first things I noticed about Marooned is that it sounds familiar. And I realized that pretty early on it uses the same I guess it's a progression for I'm not a musician. I don't know these terms. That in Us and Them.
I was just about to say it's like the da-da-da.
Yeah.
Except over and over. Yep.
Because of course you know everything about Us and Them. Anyone else? I'm tired of talking about Marooned.
Becca, any thoughts on Marooned?
That guitar solo absolutely soars through it.
Yeah.
It source. Of the two of the instrumentals on this one wins out for me. Just because it's like, they're both good in their own right and good in their place in the album, but this one, as a standalone thing, just takes off.
Especially when, the 20th anniversary is happening right now, and you can see the now official music video from Marooned.
Oh, that's right. We were watching this yesterday.
Yeah, Tom and I were in the library doing stuff.
Yeah, there's a new music video for Marooned. I didn't catch who the director is.
It was Aubrey Powell, who was part of Hypnosis.
Yeah, wow, yeah, that name sounds familiar.
Yeah,
he was like, if Storm Thorgerson was Hypnosis, Aubrey Powell was the number 2.
Well, and also the video is, for those who haven't seen it,
it's totally Hypnosis.
Yes, it's very artsy. It's sort of like, if there's any plot to the video, it's just that for half the video it follows this human just running, and they run through a hospital and there's like thousands of beds, sort of like the Momentary Lapse of Reason cover, or like it runs through like a schoolyard and there's children playing, kind of like Another Brick in the Wall.
It makes some references here and there. It starts with a bunch of space footage.
And then it zooms in on Earth.
Probably referencing the fact that Pink Floyd is the first band to have any music played in space.
Is that true? Even I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think it was a cosmonaut. I could be wrong. An astronaut or a cosmonaut took the Delicate Sound of Thunder album onto a space shuttle or something and played it in space. Pink Floyd was the first band in space.
Wow. Look at that. I mean, it was a bit odd when it started in space and there's seagulls flying around. Yeah, but it was a great video, and on the 20th anniversary, it's included as a video extra. But we'll get to all that once we finish the track listing.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Marooned is a great instrumental. Like, I'm sort of on the fence with instrumentals. I don't mind them, but for this one was one that, like I said, when I heard it, I was waiting for the vocals to kick in, and then it never did. And I was like, wow, that was just great, just waiting for the vocals. I was like, this is so great, this is so great. Wow, that was great when it ended. And just, the drum, okay, let's say, when the drums are in for the second half, and there's an actual beat to the tune, right as you're really starting to groove with it, it fades away. Yeah. And so that's my only disappointment, but when the way it ends is sort of like a shh sound, and it's sort of like, oh, wow, that was great. Yeah.
Also, for anyone who only has the Echoes version of Marooned from...
You are wasting your time.
I'm so sorry.
they put like the first 2 minutes.
It fades out before the drums kick in. What the hell is the... I don't understand it.
There's 0 point. It cuts off the musical evolution of that song.
Well, they had to stick it on there because it gave Pink Floyd their only Grammy award. Yeah. Yeah, it was their Grammy award for best instrumental performance. Mm-hmm. So that's why they had to include it on there. So if you only have the Echoes album, listen to the full thing. Oh yeah. I mean, it's only 5 minutes long, and the Echoes is only 2 minutes, but please, you're missing out on a great song, instrumental song. So, I can't say any more about this, because if I say any more, I'm just going to keep repeating myself on Marooned. Okay. So we'll move on to track 5, which is called A Great Day for Freedom. And I'd say it's very anthemic, and also, we're all going to say this. It also includes the wall idea, or the wall, not the concept of the album wall, just the idea of walls. Yeah. Yes. And talk about communication, people building walls or breaking down walls, or even literally the song was partially inspired by the fall of the Berlin Wall. Yeah. But according to Gilmour himself, and he actually confirmed this, I have this in my notes. It is not related to the wall or its 1990 staging at any point, nor is it related to my former member. Yeah. So even he confirms that.
It's not about Rogers the Wall, it is about the wall in Berlin. He said that, and I don't know the specifics about, European politics, but after the fall of the Berlin Wall, I guess Gilmour got the feeling that there was so much lost opportunity or something. I don't know the specifics, so I can't really sell much about it. But as for the song, oh gosh, it really hops out of nowhere with Gilmour's vocals on it, which are fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I think the combination of him and the opening piano is, it's mighty. That's the word I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you came out of Marooned. It's very quiet, and then he comes in with "On the Day the Wall Came Down." It's like, wow. It's like you ran into a wall.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
It is so melancholic. My gosh, it is and you got a great guitar solo at the end. That's the thing about Division Bell. A lot of people would say, and they're not entirely wrong about it either, that the Division Bell is basically a medium for David Gilmour to solo his ass off. Because he actually does have guitar solos in every song on the Division Bell.
Right. There's not one so-called filler track. Sorry, not filler track. There's not really just one song, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus,
Oh, yeah.
and without a solo in it.
Yeah, he's got a solo in it somewhere. And that's not, I don't think that's a bad thing, because because David Gilmour is like my favorite guitarist ever. Yeah, oh my gosh, the song, it's good, it's really good. I also, I forgot to say this earlier, I think of it kind of as, I don't want to say a sequel or a follow-up, but at least a companion to On the Turning Away from A Momentary Lapse of Reason.
You think so?
Yeah, because they're kind of similarly themed.
I've never thought of it that way, but it makes a little bit of sense.
Me neither. I mean, I have to be honest. On the Turning Away was one that I generally was not particularly keen on, A Momentary Lapse of Reason.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly quite sure why, but that's not that. But this is not that show.
Yeah, I think this is the only part on the Division Bell that has a direct, real-world kind of theme, and not just a theoretical concept like communication. And the communication concept is still there, the lack of communication. But this one is definitely talking about some real-world issues, and it's the only one that does that.
Really?
Yeah, it makes it kind of an odd one out, but it still works.
And if you take the lyrics also, building walls, thinking about walls between Roger and the band, and even at the time, or this time they were writing it, David and his ex-wife.
Yeah.
And his love for this new woman. I mean, I don't know the whole, politics about the relationship. I don't know if Gilmour divorced his ex-wife because he met Polly, or if he had already divorced her. But the idea of just building a wall between he and his ex-wife, and then breaking down one with him and Polly.
Right.
I mean, I think it's a great song. It's not, but it's not one of my favorites on this whole track.
Yeah.
I don't know if Becca had anything else to add to it.
Pretty much along the same lines of that. It's like, it is a good song. Not my favorite on the album, but it's not a bad song.
Right.
That's exactly how I would say it too.
Doesn't do too much for me, but it's still beautiful. It's well done.
Yeah, it's also really interesting to hear in David Gilmour's 2006 tour of On an Island, he pulled this one out for the last concert at Gdansk, which is a fantastic album. And yeah, it's a really good solo at the end of that one, especially.
I mean, I personally haven't heard the Gdansk version, but I'd be curious to hear that great solo in it.
Yeah.
But the next song is probably the one that we probably will have a lot of thought about it. And I'm not just saying that because Becca is a Richard Wright enthusiast herself, but the next... She's giving me a weird look, folks. You can't see it. But the next song and the closer of side A on the original vinyl is Wearing the Inside Out, Rick's biggest contribution, and Becca obviously has no words for it.
This is it's a great song, especially with the whole theme of communication.
Yeah.
Just the idea of just sitting there feeling like your ideas are worthless. Nobody's really listening to you.
Yeah, it's a pretty dismal song.
Could it be?
It's dismal, but like it does the dismal well.
Yeah.
It's not sappy dismal.
Right.
No, it's genuine. Just.
And also, I'm going to speculate something. You said, the idea of not being heard, and it's so gentle. This is Rick being honest, but it's also a message to a certain band member who didn't really get along with him very well.
Okay, maybe.
Well, think about it. Maybe that's why the song has a perfect honesty, and the fact that he sings lead the whole time, which if I'm correct, is this his first full lead vocal ever? Like, from
No.
start to finish?
No. No, he did some, like...
Earlier.
Saucerful, I think, was the last time he did a full lead.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry,
With Remember a Day in Seesaw.
It's Adam Hartmother.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
That's right. I'm
Right.
mistaken.
I'm thinking of Time where he just does the bridges.
Yeah.
So, okay, my mistake. Yeah, but that's why...
This song is great.
Oh, yeah.
Lyrically, it's great. Just the idea of just, okay, well, nobody cares, and me putting myself out there is only ending in me getting hurt, so I'm just going to shut down entirely, which is a commonplace practice, and it's not the answer. And then, like, eventually he's coming back around.
Yeah.
And then the music changes.
Mm-hmm.
At that coming back around, and it's well constructed and really brings across the meaning in a nice, gentle way. Like you said, gentle. It's truly Rick being honest here. It seems like that gentle nature and just finally singing again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's symbolic of what it is on the album in and of itself, really.
Right. Yeah. It works on so many levels. It works in the context of this album. It works in the context of the band's history. It works in the context of
Rick Wright maturing as a person.
Exactly. And if I'm not mistaken, part of this history isn't he only like somewhat credited on Momentary Lapse of Reason?
He only played he said, I think according to that interview we listened to, that he only played on a quarter of the album.
Right. So maybe this is also his idea of coming forth.
Yeah.
We can bring Pink Floyd back around.
Right. I mean, I showed this picture to Becca a few days ago. The original Momentary Lapse of Reason cover art. It has a picture of Pink Floyd.
This picture is great.
It has a picture of Pink Floyd, and it's just David Gilmour and Nick Mason.
Are they back to back?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in later issues, like on CD and stuff, you can open the little booklet, and it has Rick Wright photoshopped in on the side.
That's great.
It's a little sad.
It's
like the one friend that doesn't get invited to the party.
Yeah. And then he shows up, guys.
Yeah. I gotta say, the Photoshop job is awesome. It looks like he's in the room with them.
It's great. They're rewriting their own history.
Yeah. I don't mind it.
The entire time we don't know what you're talking about.
I don't mind it. I'm glad.
Big Brother's always watching.
I'm glad they give him that little bit more of respect that he totally deserves.
Yeah.
He maybe not deserves on that album per se.
Not necessarily, but the Photoshop is said and done.
Yes,
it's funny. That's for sure.
Well,
it's very funny.
Well, speaking of things that are sort of humorous, and not that I'm reading too much into it, but if you actually, when Division Bell was actually first released on vinyl originally, it was only on one vinyl, and since it was a long album, 7 out of the 11 songs had to be edited down, and so this was one of them. So, you take the idea of not being heard entirely, and 7 of the songs are being cut by verses, solos, intros.
Yeah.
With the new edition coming out, there's supposed to be a 2 LP with the full length tracks intact. Yeah. So that would be nice.
An album about communication that is being miscommunicated. Irony's a bitch.
Irony's a bitch in this one.
Also, I haven't said much about wearing the inside out
yeah.
Yet. Because I have some stuff to say, let me tell you. First thing that y'all haven't mentioned yet, and it's a crime, is that Dick Perry.
I knew it. I knew one of us.
Yes.
Dick Perry, the guy who played saxophone on Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here, reappears for the first time in almost 20 years to play saxophone on a Floyd track. And it's so good.
His playing is really great.
Oh my gosh, Dick Perry is my favorite saxophone player ever of all time, except for my brother. My brother is awesome, and my sister. But yeah, professional, we'll say.
Yes, professional saxophone player.
Because it's amazing that every live performance you hear of Dick Perry playing any of the solos he does with Pink Floyd, every solo is different.
Really,
and it always works because Dick Perry is a master. Yeah, so good. So also, and while we're still recording, might as well. Cool thing about wearing the inside out wearing the inside out is the title because it's a double meaning. No?
No.
It is a double meaning because it's saying, first off, that I'm wearing my feelings like on my sleeves. Like I'm wearing my inside on my outside. It's also saying, because I'm doing that, I'm wearing down the inside and it's grinding down.
I didn't think about it that way. I mean, the heart on my sleeve thing works.
Yeah. There are live versions of wearing the inside out from Dave Gilmour's 2006 tour. Oh, they're so good. Oh, they're so good.
Well, you should say Rick
joined. Lump in my throat. That's how good they are.
Well, you should say Rick joined him for some of the tour.
Yeah,
it wasn't just
for
his
all
tour.
of the tour.
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah, he was part of the band.
David Gilmour's traveling band included Rick Wright as, I think, I want to say primary keyboard player, but just one of the two, alongside John Caron, who I believe also appears on Division Bell.
Yes, he does.
John Caron is fantastic too.
Yes.
John Caron and Guy Pratt and all the other session musicians. And Division Bell, it kind of pains me to admit it somewhat. Division Bell and even Momentary Lapse of Reason, there are a lot of session musicians that come in and fill the gaps.
They're all lovely.
Yeah,
I think
they're all great people.
They embellished the song. It's probably one reason why a lot of purists don't really give this album the credit it deserves.
Yeah,
because it's not them as a band; they're augmented by others.
Yeah,
which, you know what? If it helps the song, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, and I have to say, I did say Guy Pratt plays bass on this album. Sometimes, a lot of the time, it's David playing the bass. Also, Guy Pratt just. Totally left field here. Guy Pratt is an adorable human being, even now that he's older. If you watch any interviews with him, he's just like, guys, I'm playing with Pink Floyd. This is so cool.
Well, that's no different. That's no different if we joined their touring band.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Enthusiastic to be there.
Yeah.
Like, whenever you see him playing, he looks so happy to be playing music, and it's so refreshing. It's so nice.
Wow, that's great. So with that, we're gonna take a short break. We're talking about The Division Bell by Pink Floyd, and we'll be right back after this.
Hi everyone, this is Garrett, one of the hosts of Triple Threat, letting you know about some changes that are going on with the show. First of all, we at Triple Threat are gonna have to take more time in between episodes. It's nothing personal. Tom is continuously working on the show, Becca and I are getting ready for college, Avery is working more, and I was also in a car accident recently, but don't worry, I'm okay. And we're all just going to need to take some time for other things right now. So stay tuned for more updates. Second, Triple Threat is now available as a downloadable podcast. Go to triplethreatarchive.bandcamp.com, where the first few episodes can now be downloaded as audio files onto your computer, laptop, tablet, phone, whatever. Just click on any episode and click the Buy Now button. And every episode is free to download. Payment won't be necessary. But if you want to drop a few bucks our way, we don't mind, know what I'm saying? More episodes will be added later, but new episodes will be posted to Mixcloud first. And last of all, we want to give shoutouts and thanks to our new followers, Jukebox Julia, Hunter Jeffus, Michael Postilio, WB1111, Mr. Beeves, and Daniel Stevens 2. Feel free to let us know what you think of the show and any suggestions you may have for us. Also, in the meantime, check out my show, Amazing Journey, where I've recently reviewed Lindsey Sterling, The Ruddles, Queen, and I've started a series on Genesis. Thank you for being patient, everyone, and thank you for listening to Triple Threat. And now, back to the show.
And we're back talking about The Division Bell by Pink Floyd, and you know, I told a little lie when I said that we're gonna continue with the tracks when we get back, but we glossed over one important thing in the introduction: the cover.
Yeah.
For those who have not seen the cover, it is basically two stone faces looking at each other. Or is it two? Is it two?
Yeah, if you look at it from a certain perspective, it looks like one big face.
Right, but I'm saying, what I was getting at, I was saying it looks like two faces, but it has something in between them, and there's literally different versions of this cover.
Yeah.
With different, there's one with lights in between them. There's one with flags. There's one with little laser. I mean, which one's the cover? Beats me.
I like to go with the one with the lights.
So
that's the one that I have the actual physical booklet that has the little lights on it.
Right, and then when they did it in 2011, they changed it to the flags.
For some reason.
The only thing I can think of is maybe to capitalize on Great Day of Freedom. I have no idea.
I don't actually know. And for whatever reason, they also made the cassette cover different too. They made the faces out of, I think it's
like wood.
It's
almost.
either wood or stone, and instead of metal.
Yeah, it's a very odd thing to look at. And for years and years, I thought the factory in the background was the factory from Animals.
No,
but I was wrong about that also. So we're gonna continue with the track listing because we're more than halfway done, folks.
And you can see those faces in the Cleveland Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. By the way.
Oh, that's right, you can. I forgot about that.
So yes, tracks.
Yes, track 7 on this album is called "Take It Back." It was released as a single, and it really, I mean, I always thought I don't like to use this term, but it's poppy, and at least I think so. It's probably to me one of the big highlights on the album.
Yeah,
and. You know, I used to think it was about a girl, but I read some article online that said it could be about Mother Nature also.
Yeah, I really like. It's just on the high end of the vocals that I can do.
So that's your reason for liking it.
That and because I love the way that it flows like an ocean. I guess is the best way for me to describe it.
It's very flowing sounding.
The way the cymbals wash up into a big impact and then fade away. It sounds like waves on the sea.
On the sea. Thank you, David.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I read about this Mother Nature thing and told Tom about it. It sounds, she could take it back someday. It's like, oh, she's taking back my love because she's my girlfriend, blah, 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 pop stuff. But if you look at the music video and you listen to, the natural imagery in the song, like, I listen to her breathing and it sounds like waves on the sea and other, I can't think of anything
other atmospheric personifications.
It's this she could be Mother Nature, which really adds an entirely different layer to the song. It makes it sound so, this song, I never really get tired of it.
It's so good.
It's one of my favorites also. I love the use of Ring Around the Rosie in it, sort of to symbolize like the bubonic plague and bringing the nature thing.
Yeah, it's only slightly creepy.
Only slightly. I'm trying to think of what else I could say about it. I think it's a great. I'm just gonna keep using the phrase. It's a great pop song, even if it's not about typical pop stuff.
Yeah, it's Pink Floyd's version of pop.
Yeah, I mean they put it through a Pink Floyd filter and made it about a serious issue.
Yeah,
I would say so. If you also have this the single in France, it's actually extended, meaning, and I don't mean extended meaning like it
has another verse.
But or a disco remix. No, it just doesn't fade out.
Yeah,
it just goes on and on and on, and like the sort of like instrumental coda at the end, where on the CD, it's cut so that it can go into Coming Back to Life, but on the single, it's pretty much the unedited version. It just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, you can hear the ebow on the guitar string. That's what the device is called. It makes you hold it close to the guitar string, it makes it vibrate.
Right. I would say the French version is great, but it's just the same song.
Yeah.
Nothing too different about it.
Yeah.
So I don't really have anything else to say about the song. I just think it's a great overall. I feel bad that I can't say more about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a great piece to follow Wearing the Inside Out. Because Wearing the Inside Out is kind of a downer. A little bit.
It's heavy, so then you get something to pick it back up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I feel like it just grabs you immediately when you hear the guitar riff come up. That's definitely reminiscent of Another Brick in the Wall. Since we were talking about recurring themes in musicians' careers, you get that riff a lot on this album.
I was thinking of like Blue Light.
It is kind of Blue Light, but I feel like it's fairer to say that Another Brick came first.
Yeah, well, he did. I'm just saying that they're similar. Doesn't matter which one came first.
Yeah.
So, good feelings overall about Take It Back. Now, the next song, whoa, this is where it gets really spooky to me. Like, whenever I hear this, well, it's called Coming Back to Life, and whenever I hear it, like I sort of close my eyes, except when I'm driving or riding my bike and listening to this. But I have to sort of close my eyes when I hear this one because I always love songs that like when there's certain verses, they're not structured. Like it's not verse and then there's like 3 beats and then the next line begins or whatever. This one is very sparse, almost spooky in a way. You know, sometimes I know Gilmore's going to come in, but every time he comes in with a different line, it sort of just grabs me by surprise. Yeah. And I know it's coming.
Yeah.
But then when it all comes together and like everything kicks in and it starts sounding like a structured song, it's like it all comes together. It is kind of like coming back to life. It's this sparse, ghostly thing, as you said before, and then it just kicks in and the drums come in like a heartbeat, pretty much.
Yeah, sort of very reminiscent to like Cluster One, how it sort of has a sort of a sparsy, spacey beginning, and then you start talking as Gilmore does in the first few lines, and then it becomes a structured song.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. I only thought about that today when I was listening to the whole album.
And man, I love Coming Back to Life because again, it's a great song for vocals.
You got to sing along to. You got to know exactly when to come in.
I kind of do. I've listened to this album so much that I kind of do. And it's just, it starts out beautifully with this nice, luxurious, thick pad of synthesizer. And then there's just awesome guitar solo over the top of it that doesn't sound, rushed. It sounds completely natural.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And you have these just, again, soaring vocals over the pad. Oh my gosh.
This might just be my second favorite song on this album.
Yeah.
Just kind of thinking about it. I mean, there's 3 tracks on the album, so you can easily guess what my favorite will be. But I'm saying like this might be my second favorite. It's one of those songs that I don't like to admit that I like it because I don't like to admit that it makes me feel spooky. That makes me feel spooky.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly gives you this. You say the word spooky. I don't get that at all.
Not necessarily spooky, but just like the whole like sort of ghostly, like it's floating.
Yeah.
That's probably a better term to use.
Yeah, it's a floaty song.
It's a very floaty song.
And again with this big thick pad of synthesizer, it's like a mattress, like a cloud that you just kind of sit on and the music flows over you. And then you get a faster feel once the beat kicks in and everything, and it's instead of like sitting on a cloud, it's more like flying.
Right.
And it's so wow. Some of the delivery of the vocals on this one is just some of my all-time favorite vocal work, especially just the way he says "lost in thought." I could listen to that on loop. It's so perfect.
The way that he recorded, you can almost like
just the words "lost in thought" and the way it echoes on that, the way it's produced and everything is just perfect.
You can probably see Gilmore wanting to make sure he got every line just right, and since there's no real structure for the first half of the song, if there's one line that he listened back and is like, I don't like that, I'm going to redo it.
Yeah, it would be easy enough to redub.
Yeah, it's a glorious work to do. And
I've got to say, this one you won't find it on any like greatest hits materials, but Gilmore loves to pull this one out live.
I've heard him do this one live.
Yeah, you can see it on the David Gilmour in concert DVD from I think like 2001 or
That's
2.
The one that I've seen.
Yeah, where he does an acoustic version of it, and instead of a synthesizer pad, he has a choir sing the chord behind him, and it's just
glorious.
It's wonderful to hear.
Oh, it is amazing.
Yeah,
and he also did it, I think, again at the 50th anniversary of the Stratocaster, just playing one of his own songs again and just being awesome with it. It's fantastic.
It's like, really you have to, like I said, you have to really close your eyes and really just go into the floatiness of this track. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely beautiful. But the next track is where things start to fall apart a bit with
communication,
with the whole idea of communication. The song is called "Keep Talking." It was also released as a single. Brings back the "Take It Back" not the synth sound. What was it called?
The guitar riff.
Yeah, the guitar riff for "Take It Back."
Yeah.
Brings it back in. Such a haunting song. The lyrics are absolutely fantastic. The only thing I will say as a criticism, and you're going to hit me for this, I don't love the backing vocals on this track. I don't mind them. I just don't love them not repeating, but just answering him all the time.
The call and response.
The call and response. It works because it's called Keep Talking.
Yeah.
But I don't love it that it's on every single verse. That's my only criticism of this song.
Yeah.
They're a little bit annoying.
I have to say, I have a weird relationship with Keep Talking because I absolutely love this song. It is one of my favorites. It's like the second favorite track after High Hopes, which we'll get to.
Spoiler.
There are aspects of the studio version that are perfect, and there are aspects of the live version that are perfect, but neither version is perfect by itself, I think.
You think there's a more perfect version out there?
If I could make a matrix of the little bits that I like about it, it would be awesome. Like, I love the drums on the studio version.
It is a great drum track.
Oh my gosh, because the drums are just, again, we mentioned they're really deep in this album, and you feel that the most on this song. Just like, while you hear the Gilmour guitar solo in the middle of it, and just you get drums just thundering behind you. It's especially great in the car. The whole car is vibrating.
This might be the deepest song, and I mean deep. And I don't mean deep meaning like moral wise or message wise, but just musical wise. It's like when it opens with those drums, and the drums come in very early in the track. Well, not early, but earlier than a lot of the other songs. They do, like they come in the middle or the second or in the third quarter. This one's is like after maybe a minute or so of the synth and Stephen Hawking in the beginning. Yeah, well, the whole song.
Yeah, that's a touch about Keep Talking that I've always liked was the Stephen Hawking voice clips in it.
Well, before you say it's odd, I'm going to be really speculative, but Stephen Hawking, I mean, for those of you who don't know, Stephen Hawking, he has some sort of, I don't remember the exact name of the disease, but he's basically paralyzed except for one finger that allows him to talk through a robotic voice.
I think that the interview we listened to is out of date and that he actually can't move his finger anymore.
Oh, really?
I think the only control he has is a few muscles in his face.
Well, whatever.
At this point, I don't know.
Well, whatever it is, for those who don't know who he is, he's allowed to speak via robotic voice, and it is. I find it so not odd, but I remember the first time I heard that, I had to question if that was really him, and the fact the song is talking, and technically he talks through a robot voice.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of, I guess, irony. I can't really think of the best word for it, but I guess the juxtaposition of him talking about how communication is so important. All we need to do is keep talking, and yet he can barely do it himself. He can't actually do it himself. He needs the assistance of a computer.
And for those of you who are wondering, no, he did not come into the studio to do a cameo on this album.
No, they took the sound samples from a telephone commercial that Gilmour saw, and he said it moved him almost to tears. A telephone commercial. Go figure. And, but yeah, I love this song. I love, the guitar on it, the solo in the middle. I love the Rick Wright getting a synth solo in the middle after the guitar solo.
And there haven't been a lot of synth solos on this album.
This is the only one.
Right, but that's what I'm getting at. There are times where he plays and you can just hear him by himself, but it's not a solo.
Yeah, and you may not like the call and response backing vocals. I like them in the live version.
Not here.
Not so much in this one, but they'll do.
In the live version, yeah.
The live version,
they do work a bit better.
They sound so much fuller, so much more lush. And then there's the talk box at the end, which is it's so good.
Which I didn't even put together till like a few months ago when we were having conversations, and I literally like did backflips in my chair, and I was like, oh my god, what? How did I miss that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And for you who doesn't, how will you explain a talk box?
I'll explain a talk box.
Okay.
A talk box, thanks to my good friend Mike Smeaton, shout out Mike, who taught me about it. A talk box is an effect where you hook up the guitar, and it filters through a tube that you put into your mouth, and you have to form the word or the vowel with your mouth, and you pluck on the guitar string, but the guitar string will play the note along with what you are saying in the talk box. Most of the time when the talk box is used in music, it's just gibberish, like wow 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 wow, or wow 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 wow. Sort of like if you've seen Charlie Brown, how they just go wah wah, the adults. Yeah. That's sort of the most of the time. There are, like, Peter Frampton is known for actually do you feel like we do. He'll use actual words.
Yeah, and who is it?
Talk in the talk box.
Yeah, he'll actually use to talk.
And was it Joe Walsh from the Eagles?
Yeah, Joe Walsh from the Eagles, especially song Rocky Mountain. He does that. But it's just gibberish.
But for there, it's just something. It sounds cool when you hear it in "Keep Talking." Not only is it a reference to the use of the talk box in Animals during Pigs,
right?
Which is a pig sound, but it also goes with the theme again of communication. Hearing the talk box in this is basically the musical equivalent of going blah blah blah.
Right.
It's just someone is talking, but they have nothing to say.
Right.
That's what the talk box is here. And again, issues between versions. The talk box on the studio version kind of sucks.
The live version, it does.
The live version kicks ass.
It is excellent. Plus, he just goes on and on with the talk box.
Yeah.
In the live version, well, because it doesn't fade out, but it's just absolutely great. And think about, and I'm just now putting this together. This song probably means a lot more now than it probably did in '94. Because think about how people have lost not the communication, but just lost the idea of how to use proper language. Because the song starts with literally Stephen Hawking talking, and since he's so smart, he uses proper language, and then eventually it just decreases, and then it's just blah 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 blah.
Right.
This song probably means a lot more now because people will talk like that, using broken English, or they'll use like text speak. Well, something that I just now put together. Since you and I, we have pet peeves with grammar.
People who actually say lol and LMFAO and stuff like that. I'm like, see that? That's the door.
This is what Pink Floyd predicted.
Yeah.
Not predicted, but they warned us about.
Yeah.
All we have to do is keep talking. Use actual words and phrases that mean something. Nowadays, since it's all communication is a lot online. Some people can't. Some people are afraid to speak. So I'm not saying I hate this song. I love this song. The only thing is I just can't get past the backing vocals. I'm sorry. It's like after a while it's just shut up. I want to hear David. But anyway, so
do you have thoughts on Keep Talking, Becca?
About Keep Talking, just pretty much what you said with the talk box and how it just really goes with the whole talking and the gibberish part of it. Lyrically, it's such a great song.
Yeah.
The lyrics are brilliant.
Yeah, especially because they're so sparse. There aren't a whole lot of words in this song.
Yes.
A bit ironic, but
yeah.
No, I think it works with the meaning. It's like why won't you talk to me? I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just you got to keep talking, but the communication's just getting so difficult and so screwy, and it's just one of those songs that you listen to when it's just a really screwy miscommunication setting.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, for anybody, this just occurred to me. Tom and I were talking a while back about how Keep Talking is kind of like this album's Sorrow from Momentary Lapse of Reason. They have a very similar groove. They're practically in the same key. I have done an experiment where I'll listen to one and sing the other, and it works. So I want to hear somebody make a mashup of those, see what happens.
Well, to be fair, Keep Talking, there's only literally 2 or 3 different chords, but most of the time it's just that riff over and over.
Yeah.
Doom, 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 doom. So, and Sorrow is almost the same, is a similar structure. Yeah, and it's a great song and a great message. It might even if a certain song at the end didn't exist, this would probably be the best lyrically on here. I think so.
Right, yeah, if it weren't for that song.
Yeah. I'm so glad Keep Talking is on the Echoes compilation, because more people need to hear this song.
Right.
It is so good.
Yes.
Again,
very well executed, very well done. Gets across what it needs to get across very well.
yeah. Last thing, last two things, fine. Again, I love the vocals on this because they're so low. And you just get a little bit of growl in it, and it's perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it just works so well.
Yeah. I would love to sing this one live or something. And, like I said, the drums, so cavernous and so perfect. There are times where I listen to this song through my headphones or something, and I'll just be air drumming like I do. And I'll just think, I want to do this kind of drum fill. And then without even realizing it, I'm doing the exact same drum fill. This is how I drum, like in my head at least. I don't know how well it works if I actually have sticks and skins.
Well then, moving on, because we can't spend too much time on keep talking.
We could keep talking
We
about
could keep talking, and then eventually we'd be lost for words.
Oh, that's where we are.
Yeah, that's where we are.
That is where we are, and that song.
Yeah, track 10 is called Lost for Words, and you know, this is what I'm alluding to. This is actually my favorite song on the album.
I see why it is.
Yes, because High Hopes is a given. High Hopes is like, if the number 0 was good, it's my number 0 favorite song on the album, because it's a given.
Yeah.
But Lost for Words is my favorite. It's an absolutely gorgeous guitar work, and it's so what can I say? I'm lost for words. Garrett, please, or Becca, please talk.
I'll take this because I love this song.
Go for it.
Love this song. Like, I had to bring the lyrics up right now just to remember how in detail how good they are. Just about being in this situation where you are disagreeing with someone, and you're just finally deciding to let go of it and be like, you know what, it's not going to help at all if I just sit here and simmer and being mad at this. But then the other person just goes on and he's an asshole anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, so I open the door to my enemies and I ask if they wipe the slate clean, but they tell me to please go myself. You just can't win. And
Yeah.
From personal experience, I have experienced that verse, let alone this song. That verse is just in specific so many times. There are some really crappy people that we have to interact with. And this song is just lyrically so sound and so dead on about the theme of communication that goes through this album.
Exactly.
There are those people that you're trying to communicate with and trying to be nice to, and they just continue to be crappy.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you think this could perhaps be about a certain ex-Pink Floyd member?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
I've thought about that, but when I was listening to it today, and from start to finish, when I got to this song, I thought, if this song is aimed at a certain Pink Floyd member, he's done it. He's done it a lot on this album. Why would he do it at the end? Why would he still be doing it at the end? He's done it enough already.
Yeah.
But it very well could be. I'm not saying it isn't, but that was one thought. That was my one thought.
It's roundabout. This one seems to be the most direct about that specific band member.
Yeah.
Yes, the most
Because
direct.
other stuff could easily be misconstrued as just generalizations about interactions with people who kind of suck, or interactions with losing touch with people, e.g. the Sid situation.
Yeah.
Whereas this is straightforward. I'm trying to work things out with this person, and they're just still being a butt.
Dang it, Roger.
Yeah, and I love the fact that verse, that last couple lines, actually comes after the break, where they say we now interrupt the song for a boxing match. And so
yeah,
and
I still don't understand what exactly is happening there.
Well, if you look at the booklet, where it has every song, there's an illustration for every song, and there's a pair of boxing gloves.
Pair of boxing gloves, yeah.
So that's why I love that verse comes after the end, because not to get too speculative here, but in a boxing match, sport in their sports mind, they're supposed to hate each other,
right?
And so they don't communicate. They just communicate with their fists, and eventually one of them gives up or is beaten brutally. And when you think about it with words, it's like people arguing back and forth, and somebody wins the argument. And that that verse being placed after that, I put the two together, and I've gone, there's something there.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've read this story about, I think it was a reporter or something called Steve O'Rourke, the manager of Pink Floyd at the time, and was asking about the lyrics on Lost for Words. and he said, "Well, I noticed that on the boxing gloves and the illustration on there, the left glove has 4 knots on it, and the right glove has 3, and the word and the line when the right one walks out the door, the word right is capitalized." I'm like, "We talking about Roger here?" And Steve O'Rourke just goes, That's a really good observation. I'm glad you put that there."
You know what? He probably knew the actual explanation, but he's not going to give it away.
It's the way I read it in a text conversation, and it said the tone as if a new idea had just occurred to him. It was like, "I never thought of it like that, and you could be entirely right."
I never thought about that either because I never really looked at that picture.
Mm.
And you said the right one had 3 knots on it.
Yeah.
So they go out the door. See ya.
Yeah, that knot is Roger. Perhaps.
Yeah.
I like to think it is.
And also it being capitalized, we did the right thing to do by walking out the door. I mean, I personally have experienced this song, but with so many other people in my life, and maybe that's why it's my favorite, because it's just, and plus again, a sparse opening, and also there are sounds of footsteps and slamming a door at the beginning.
Exactly.
So I think of that also, this is like, if this was placed in a musical, this would be right after somebody obviously walks out, and the person that they were left behind would just stay behind singing this.
Yeah. So, interesting. I noticed this a little while ago, and it just blew my damn mind. You listen to the
Epiphanies all around today.
Yeah. You listen to the.
Today.
We're good.
Many new things about history and context and meanings, and it's exciting.
Exactly.
We must be smart.
So you listen to the guitar riff when the acoustic guitar first comes in. First off, it's an acoustic guitar. It comes in with a fairly folky riff. And you listen to doom 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 doom. You compare that to the "Wish You Were Here" riff.
Huh.
Doom 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 doom.
Wait, are you talking about the first guitar or the second guitar on "Wish You Were Here"?
Well, the first guitar.
Oh, the first guitar.
It sounds that. And then another acoustic guitar comes in and plays a solo based on that riff.
Same with
just like in "Wish You Were Here."
All of these tie-ins to other songs kind of tie into my observation at the beginning that this album really captures the essence of the Floyd, and it's a good closing. It's like a good closing.
Exactly, and also
it summarizes everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's got all the signature elements of their sound, sans Roger, of course.
Yeah,
it's a summary.
It's the elements of their sound, if not their themes.
That's why I said this album sounds very warm.
And even then, this is a concept album, so it kind of does have that Roger-esque feel to it, just because it's all unified. And Tom, I think I figured out the reason why you love Lost for Words, because it's Pink Floyd doing Bob Dylan.
How is it Bob Dylan?
If you listen to the way, first off, it's a lot of it is, acoustic guitar.
Right. Right, when you think of acoustic guitar message, you think of Dylan.
Yeah, and then also you listen to some of the words as Gilmour delivers them. Like I feel the line that comes immediately to mind is like shadows into the night. I think.
I'm thinking of, but they
like shadows into the night.
Well, he's also singing lower there.
Yeah, he is.
And I'm thinking the line, but they please tell me to go F myself.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's Gilmour consciously imitating Bob Dylan, but still being David Gilmour.
Right. Because I've heard Gilmour cover Dylan. It's best too that he doesn't. He did a cover. He did like a 1.5 minute cover of Like a Rolling Stone, I guess for some event or something. I've heard it and I was like, I love you, David, but
no,
find a better song.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
And even Roger Waters himself has done knocking on Heaven's Door, and that one's actually less bad,
but still bad.
It's not great.
It's not it can't be as bad as Roger doing Across the Universe.
We don't talk about that either.
That goes with Z. We don't talk about it.
They were both in 1984, I think. Is there a connection?
About 1984.
And also,
anyway, the novel, yes. The year, no.
but anyway, as much as I, hate on Bob Dylan, and I do it a lot,
I think you do it just to annoy me sometimes.
Partly because that is fun as hell. Partly because I really don't like him. But as much as I do knock on him, I gotta say his influence on this track is obvious, and I don't mind it. In fact, Lost Words is one of my favorite songs on this album.
Well, also, I'm thinking about this, like, the acoustic guitar chords, they're not complicated chords.
No.
So, it could be very much paying tribute to Bob. He didn't write complicated chords either. So, alright, Garrett, we know that you want to take the last song on this album.
Oh my.
So,
last song on the Division Bell, the last Pink Floyd song is High Hopes. High Hopes is epic. It is heart-wrenching. The vocals are great. I loved singing along with the vocals because they're perfectly within my range. You get acoustic soloing, you get slide soloing and electric, and if you're in Gdansk, you get a just absolutely moving guitar solo at the end. But this is my favorite Pink Floyd song, and oh my gosh, I could go on and on about it. And it all begins with, you hear some bells in the background that are from Fat Old Sun.
That's right.
And you hear a fly buzzing around like in Grantchester Meadows.
And also, if I'm not
so many little references to the past Pink Floyd.
If I'm not mistaken, doesn't the bell sound appear earlier in this album also, like in between songs or like
in between some songs? I'm not certain which ones, I forget, but definitely you're correct.
Because it's the same way that Keep Talking uses Take It Back. I swear when I heard it today, I heard the bells and I was like, it's not time for High Hopes yet.
Oh, I have to listen to that again.
Yeah, well you don't hear the ding, did it? You just hear ding, ding, that bell, not the rhythm bells.
Right.
And we should actually explain what the term division bell means.
Yeah, in British Parliament, there is this division bell. It basically, the bell calls the members of Parliament together and says, time to vote on something, divide into your parties. So this is in Westminster where they do their Parliament stuff. A lot of Parliament members have a division bell installed in their apartments, their flats, so that they can be on call whenever they need to vote on anything.
Oh my.
And the division bell, as it appears in this song, both in the lyrics and very obviously as the sound of the bell itself, which is the sound of the division bell is so interesting.
It's almost like a call at the beginning, like, okay guys, we gotta come in, we gotta do this one, like the one last song.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to bring everybody in.
And it's such it's an eerie sound. Yes. It's a sad sound. It's a powerful sound. There are just so many emotions tied up in this one tone. It's amazing.
You would think it's a bell, but when so much in context of this album, when you put it from start to finish and you get to the end, it's almost like final rap, or it's like before the final curtain opens.
Yeah.
Here comes the end.
Yeah, the show's coming to an end.
It's in a lot of ways, it's the death knell for Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it's the last song on the last album, which is kind of depressing, but it's also really fulfilling, especially after the song ends, and all you can hear again is the division bell ringing and fading into the distance.
It's a really cool sound. I have to admit, this is one that, like, I actually don't play a lot out of the context of this album because I'm afraid to go on this emotional coaster and I'm going to be not in a wreck, but in the end I'm just going to feel, oh boy, drained. Yeah, so I often don't actually play this one a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I not that I have to like it, but I really, really do like it, and I'm afraid to play. But when I do play it at the end, I just go, oh, worth it. Oh. I'm drained. I'm drained of all possible emotion, but it was worth it. And
it really is an emotional drain, this one. It just takes you on a journey.
Yeah.
And especially the lyrics. I mean,
because a lot of it is referencing just the history of Pink Floyd. Friends surrounded.
Go down this road we've been so many times.
Yeah.
Touring or
and
personal problems.
It's interesting. He mentions a along the long road and down the causeway. The doctor who does the Floyd podcast.
Shout out,
Doctor. We love you. I listen to your show all the time. I need to listen to it more. Anyway, he's been to Grantchester Meadows and Cambridge and says there is actually a long road next to a causeway.
What is a causeway?
I don't actually know.
Okay.
I think it's a bridge of some kind. And he says this is a place that actually exists. Like, it's one thing to sing an image. It's another thing to actually
have it actually exist.
Yeah, think of how cool that could be. You're walking through Cambridge, listening to High Hopes on your iPod. And as this line comes on, you see this long road and this causeway, and you go,
your jaw just drops.
Yeah, and I guess it's a similar feeling to listening to Grantchester Meadows while being in Grantchester Meadows.
Yeah.
I would love to be in. That's probably like if I ever go to England, I'll be sure to go out of my way. Apart from seeing all the tourist attractions, I will go to Grantchester Meadows just to experience it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
The same way that I wrote in my notes because I was reading somewhere someone made the connection between this song and Strawberry Fields Forever, using people and places from childhood all the way up to the actual writing of the song.
Yeah.
I mean, they're musically entirely different, and
that theme is there.
The theme is there.
Yeah.
And you listen to the lyrics, especially I've said this before to Garrett. I love songs where the vocals test you. Where the verses are down an octave, and then he jumps roughly an octave to the chorus. And when he sings "The grass is greener," it's almost like a cry, like, "Damn it, the grass was greener."
Yeah.
Or
it's a lamentation of things past.
Yeah.
And you just start sobbing uncontrollably.
Yeah. It's a lot of nostalgia, and it's a lot of
Downhill from here.
Going with the theme of communication on this album. It's trying to still feel connected to your past, but at this point, it's a one-way street.
Yeah, the endless river forever flowing,
which is also a reference to See Emily Play, of all things.
Is it?
Yeah.
Forever and ever.
That's, oh my god. I guess epiphanies all around today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the only humorous thing I can think about is that Garrett and I were talking about this. I'm watching the video for this song, and I don't actually get the video.
There is some weird imagery. Again, it's a hypnosis video, like Marooned.
Have you actually? Hold on, Becca. I don't know this. Have you seen the video for High Hopes?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually I watched it and I'm thinking, okay, it's a symbolic song and it's supposed to have a really symbolic video. I left the video going, what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's weird, but you see, okay, for those of you who haven't seen it, you see, when I say some weird stuff, you see out of the ordinary. You see people on very high stilts. You see people playing ping pong in an open field, and then eventually the ping pong ball turns into a balloon. You see this guy walking like a bicycle, but the bicycle wheel is huge.
Yeah.
You see, and then
you see men walking across a field with giant iron bells on their backs.
Yeah.
You see this guy who just opens his car and then a bunch of balloons spill out the back end, and
the only normal
and there's the guy who is just walking over the field and he's got this serious expression on his face. He just has a sail on his back.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what it is.
The only normal thing in the video is that the whole video shows interspersed with all this weird thing. There's a guy who stands by his car watching all this stuff with a serious look, as if like he's trying to get it.
He's kind of the anchor of it.
And then he doesn't get it and opens the trunk with the balloons in it.
His whole sort of whatever.
And he looks like Benedict Cumberbatch. It's so weird.
He does a little.
But Floyd, they don't put well-known people in their videos.
That distracts from it.
Exactly. So that's my only really criticism. And it's not a criticism.
Besides, wouldn't Benedict Cumberbatch have been a teenager when that was happening?
Not before they were famous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a criticism of the song, but that's my only criticism of High Hopes. The whole thing.
The video
is the video. It's a great It's a great artistic video, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But then again, it's artsy. I don't think it's supposed to make sense.
Yeah.
And
a lot of hypnosis videos are like that.
So,
But yeah, High Hopes.
Yeah.
An emotional roller coaster that you will not regret having ridden.
You will not regret. I mean, every time if this is on shuffle and like the song comes up, I almost want to skip it every time because you know, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not sobbing, but when it's over, it's just like, wow, that was great.
Yeah. Also, one last thing about the video. In the middle of it, there's this great image of, I think it's like, 4 to 6 guys carrying a gigantic bust sculpture of Syd Barrett.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
And it's just, it hits me right in the feel spots, man.
Right, because he's talking about his history.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of something in the video.
And you know what? It's amazing to see, this video for the last Pink Floyd song referencing the man who was Pink Floyd,
started it all.
the original Pink. And even so, I still, to this day, whenever I'm talking about Pink Floyd, I'm like, to you, Syd Barrett, wherever the hell you are now, thank you so much.
Thank you for all your craziness.
Thank you so much. I feel so terribly sorry for you and all the things you had to do, and I'm just eternally grateful for this little thing that you started as a fun thing to get rich and famous.
Moment of silence for Syd. Okay, done. So, well, the very last thing you hear on the album is you hear a quick 10 to 12 second conversation between, I only know one guy's name, Charlie.
Charlie and Steve O'Rourke.
Steve O'Rourke, the manager, and Charlie, who is the...
Charlie Gilmore.
Okay, because Steve O'Rourke apparently had always begged to be on an album in some way.
David, put me on an album. Please, you just have to put my voice on it somewhere. And he goes, okay, we're just going to stick you on the end of the track miscommunicating with my son.
Because his son can't talk.
Yeah.
So, again, tying into the whole communication thing, someone who's an adult and can speak and the child who can't.
Yeah.
It kind of comes back to cluster one, the difference of communication.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, that's the album. And even I'm a little bit emotional right now, just going through this whole roller coaster.
Talk about High Hopes We're All Wrecks.
Well, no, not just that, but a lot of songs this album. There's not a song on here that's I would say a clunker. There's just some songs I don't have as much emotion for others, but every song is good. Almost every song, there's a line in it that will, if it's not an instrumental, at least every song has one line that really makes me feel good listening to it.
As album start to finish.
Exactly. Years later, if you give this to somebody and say, this is the last album, they'll go, okay, I don't want to listen to it. Mm-hmm. But listen to it, it was like, wow, that was really good. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like what we talked about George Harrison's Brainwashed album. I almost don't listen to it all the time because I don't like to be reminded that he's dead. But when you get to it, it's like, you go, George.
Yeah.
It's great.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Floyd, for the great music that you've given us, and we'll continue.
Especially for giving us a great final chapter.
It's a great swan song.
Yeah,
it's a great. And even Gilmore in the studio interview, he said, "You know what? With this album, we sort of set the precedence. We can't make another one, and I am okay with that. Mm-hmm. We said it all.
It's funny.
When it's done so well, how could one argue?
Yeah, how can you top it?
Yeah, it's funny." With the whole Division Bell 20th anniversary set that we're going to talk about in a minute, on the Pink Floyd website, they put a countdown for this big announcement that turned out to be the 20th anniversary set, and a lot of people were going, "Oh my gosh, guys, Pink Floyd is going to reunite and tour, or Pink Floyd is going to reunite and make an album." And meanwhile, the rational ones of us are going,
"It ain't gonna happen."
Like, first off, see if you can get David Gilmour and Roger Waters in a room for more than comfortably numb and outside the wall.
So, that's more excitement to come. Yes, the 20th anniversary. We get new stuff. Just really quickly, the 20th anniversary will include the 2011 remaster of this album, a 2 LP vinyl of this album remastered. It's different from the 1 LP because all the songs are now in their full length version. Thank you. A 7-inch vinyl of the Take It Back single, a 7-inch vinyl of the High Hopes single, which I believe both of them were edited to fit on the single, and then a Blu-ray disc, which will include, this is something that makes me laugh, the Blu-ray disc will include a previously unreleased 5.1 surround sound mix. How is it previously unreleased? They're doing it for this set.
Oh.
And also the Blu-ray disc will include the video for Marooned, hopefully it will be an awesome Blu-ray quality.
Super HD.
It will also include some art prints, some booklets, and a poster. Sadly, no marbles or scarves.
Oh, darn.
Oh, bummer. I want another scarf.
See, I would actually like to see a marble of the two heads inside it.
Yeah, that could be pretty
I would want a scarf that has, a pattern of the heads on it or something. That would be cool.
Kind of like the doctor's quilt that he has.
Oh, he did.
Oh, he did. Okay.
He used, the doctor, the FloydPodcast.com used to have. I think he
sold it.
He's working on selling it if he hasn't. He used to have one of the big hand painted sound quilts that was in Earl's Court that helped to deaden the sound and make it oh so perfect during the Pulse tour.
Okay. So
I wish I had the money to buy it.
Yeah, well, yeah. So do I. I wish I had all the money to buy all the immersion sets, but that ain't gonna happen. But it will happen. But it's just somebody give me lots of money.
Are either of you gonna get the Division Bell 20th set?
I'm gonna go with no. Becca?
I'm on the fence. I might. It depends on how much money I've got at the time.
Yeah.
I would say no, strictly because when it comes to box sets, I like bonus material, and this just doesn't have any for me.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, I could make my own. I would just buy. If the 2 LP is available separately, I'll just buy that. I'll buy the 2011 remaster CD. And then if the 5.1 ever comes out separately, I'll buy that, and then I have everything.
Yeah, but if I'm ever going to get another Division Bell, it's going to be the Discovery Edition.
Yeah, just because I want to hear the new remaster. I've heard it online. It sounds great.
Yeah.
But I mean...
you can stream it online Spotify right now at the Pink Floyd website.
So my only criticism, even though I love this album, the 20th Anniversary Edition just seems silly to me.
Yeah, well...
but
it does come with a lot of booklets and stuff that, we could have... poured over for days and days to research for this podcast, but
right. But if somebody has this set and I just borrow the booklet, it's fine with me.
Yeah.
So, you know what? We live in the era of box sets and anniversaries. It's probably like more of a corporal thing to say, guys, you have to sell a big box set. You haven't had a new product out in a number of years.
Mm.
So,
are we gonna rate this baby now?
Yeah. Who's gonna start on their own individual scales of ratingness? I guess I'll start, oh, wow.
Do it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to think of it this way. There's 11 songs on this album. I'm going to actually go with this on a scale of 10 because I'm going to put the 2 instrumentals as 1. I gave this album... I can't give it a 10 for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. As an album, I'm going to give it a 9.5. I take a little bit off because a little bit is it is so emotional, and I'm not always in the mood to be so emotional.
Mm.
So, I mean, sometimes I'm in the mood to hear Marooned. I mean, sometimes I'm even in the mood to hear High Hopes or Lost for Words if I need it. So, if anything, I'm taking off because I'm not in the mood to go through the emotional roller coaster. So, I'm going to give it 9.5 out of 10. If I could even go maybe 9.75. But it's just not perfect.
Okay. I'm going to give this one 4.9 TARDISes out of 5.
So close.
Yeah. Like I said, it jockeys for first place with Wish You Were Here all the time.
Can I ask why the 0.1? Just because it jockeys with Wish You Were Here?
Because the instrumentals are kind of odd for me, because I can't sing along to them. A lot of it is me not being able to sing along to some things.
Okay.
And, I'm not the biggest fan of What Do You Want From Me or Great Day for Freedom.
Right, okay, that's fair.
So 4.9 out of 5. TARDISes.
Becca?
I'm going to have to agree with Tom on the 9.5 out of 10 deal because it's a brilliant album and good from there are no bum tracks. There's nothing bad about it.
Mm.
There's only slight imperfections as needing to be in the proper mood for What Do You Want From Me, or the visual inequalities between Cluster 1 and Marooned.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's just a good album from start to finish. There are no wastes of space, just mild imperfection, and that's great.
If we were rating this on the scale they rated all the songs, I might, for what it is, or for the songs, I'd probably give it 10 out of 10, but you also got to factor in personal things for it.
Yeah. A lot of it is, where you were in your life when you began listening to this album.
And even, I'll admit, when I first heard High Hopes, I wasn't really struck with it. I was it's a good song.
Yeah, I came to this album in a really weird place because it was one of the first Floyd albums I got. I think I bought it at the same time as Wish You Were Here and Animals, which were the They were like the third, fourth, and fifth albums I'd owned. And yeah, before that, the only exposure I'd had to Pink Floyd was through The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon. And I also randomly found Pulse on YouTube. So I'd already heard some Division Bell songs. And to be honest, I'm kind of surprised that, I didn't like High Hopes at first, and I didn't like Sorrow at first.
Looking back on it, you're surprised you didn't like it.
Yeah, because now they're my favorite songs.
Actually, I remember I came to this album in sort of a weird way too. Back before I had my own computer, my dad and we shared the same computer, the same iTunes library. So I was getting into Floyd, I was picking the albums, and he didn't have Division Bell. He had it on CD, but he didn't have it in the computer.
Did he say it wasn't very good?
He said he just said he didn't really like it. So my first thought was, it's not great, but I'm still gonna listen to it.
Yeah. Unfair prejudice against the Waterless albums.
Yes. so that's our review of the Division Bell, and it's been probably longer than the album.
Oh my gosh,
the 2 LP version.
Yeah.
So if you have any comments for us, or as Garrett would say, criticisms or snide remarks, you can reach us at mixcloud.com/triple threat. You can also catch Garrett at his own show, Amazing Journey, at mixcloud.com/amazing-journey. Don't forget to put the hyphen in between.
Right.
Hear him talk about albums that we won't cover on this show, just strictly for time, and also because I like Bob Dylan and he doesn't.
Yeah.
And so Becca has a band that she could probably plug now since she's playing again.
That's right. I'm finally out and about. Keep your eyes open for a group called the Tiwi. We're going to be posting things very soon.
Cool.
The Tiwi, is that Teewee?
That it is.
All right.
Nice.
Solid.
Rock and roll group from New Jersey, and we're gonna melt your faces off.
Wicked.
Nice. Thank you so much for listening. So, for the members of Triple Threat, I am Tom Rutia, and joining me has been, say bye-bye, Becca Cristino.
Goodbye.
And Garrett Hicks.
Bye.
And that's all the time we have for this episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Toodles.
Did I say watching?
Maybe.
Hey everyone, thanks again for listening to our full-length discussion about the Pink Floyd album, The Division Bell, right here on Triple Threat. Like we said earlier, the show is going to take some more time to update, but we will return with another episode, and next time it's Free Space number 4, so it could be about anything. If you have any comments for us, feel free to message us on our website, www.mixcloud.com/triplethreat, and our new website, triplethreatarchive.bandcamp.com, where you can now download and listen to the first few episodes of the show. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Triple Threat, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye, and thanks for listening.
Guy Pratt.
Guy Pratt is wonderful.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about how wonderful Guy Pratt is in a very long time because I haven't watched the Pulse DVD or On an Island.
Yeah. Have you seen the Delicate Sound of Thunder concert video?
Yes.
Yeah. When he has this big mop of hair and he's so skinny and young up on stage.
You just sit there and you think, oh my god, wait a minute, that's Guy Pratt. And
Yeah.
it's just
Especially when you do One Slip and he has the bass solo in the middle. You're like, damn, white boy can play. Yeah. That still goes down as one of my all-time favorite musical moments is Guy Pratt soloing on One Slip live.
Guy Pratt is wonderful.
We're still recording, right?
Yeah. Just
okay.
making sure. That was one thing I needed to make sure of.
Whew.
I had a bit of a damn it moment when I left choir rehearsal today, because all of a sudden I was thinking about I'm coming back from practice going to do this show, and all of a sudden for some random reason Peter Gabriel's Mercy Street came into my head, and from a song from his So album, and I'm thinking I was thinking. Whenever a random song comes in your head, you think, like what triggered this? There had to be something that triggered it. And I'm singing it into my head, and the chorus is, dreaming of Mercy Street, wearing your inside out. I was like, oh, damn it.
There it is.
So the whole time I'm driving home, I'm thinking, no, think of the Rick Wright song, and then it's Mercy Street keeps coming in my mind over and over again.
Yeah.
Oh, before we get back to the track listing, can we talk about the cover?
Yeah. We need to talk about the cover.
Yes. What cover?
The cover to the album.
Oh, yes.
So I had that in my notes to talk about at the beginning, but I sort of squeezed it in my notes, so I didn't even I glanced over it entirely.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, what's the name of the thing at the beginning of Take It Back? The thing that makes the vibrating strings.
I don't know.
Not a clue. I was gonna say synthesizer.
No. It's a some device that you hold over the string that makes it vibrate. Hang on.
As the guitarist, I don't know what you're talking about. The only thing I can think of is a slide, but that's definitely not a slide sound. Because the only thing I hold over the strings to vibrate is the sound, or the whammy bar. You can also use the whammy bar to vibrate the strings, but that's only on electric only. That's just speaking only as I have an electric, but I can't play it.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
You know, was given. I have it in my other room. It's just, it's untunable. The second thing is when we get to High Hopes, do you want to introduce it? Because I know that you're probably going to talk the most about it. With all due respect, like I'll probably say, okay, Garrett, you know, we know that you want to take the last one.
I kind of feel like I already addressed that in the songs that make you cry bit.
Do it again anyway.
Yeah.
Because
I'll introduce it with my tears.
Because not everyone listens to every episode.
That's true. So. All right, I guess I will.
Okay, let me just check on levels really quickly. We're good. All right, so we'll get started because this is probably going to be a long show.
True.
So, oh yeah.
All right, here we go. Sorry. I was laughing at a joke I heard earlier today. It's fine. Okay. You know what? I just need one more swig, just so I'm confident. All right, that's better.
Are you gonna swallow that?
Here we go. What is that?
Oh. Calculus homework.
Nice. Anyway. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go.